Awesome. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us so far. We are gonna have our second speaker, the amazing Sarah Hill. Sarah Hill is the CEO of Healium, a virtual and augmented reality tool for human performance, powered by the user's own brainwaves and heart rate. After 20 years as a TV reporter covering trauma, Hill's media diet of reporting the day's headlines ultimately made her sick. Hill developed Healium for herself, as well as the 41 million others who struggle with anxiety. Healium is a digiceutical? Digiceutical for people to detox from what they're consuming digitally. Healium is the world's first biometrically powered VR and AR immersive media channel controlled by the user's brainwaves and heart rate via consumer wearables. So without further ado, I will let Sarah Hill present and give her talk.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that warm welcome. And Hannah, I appreciate the kind invitation, and too, just fascinating to see all the neat things that CorkWorks is doing, located right here in Columbia, Missouri, which is really, really fascinating, all the talented people that you have there. And thank you for giving us a platform. I would love to share a little bit more about mental fitness that we call in a new reality. And the easiest way that I can do that is just by sharing my screen. And so let me make sure that I get up the right window and that you can see it behind there. And are you able to see it full screen? Okay.
Yep.
And then you can see me cycling through my slides. I just wanted to make sure that you're able to see them advancing. Is that right?
Yep. We're all
great. Good. Awesome. So obviously we are in a new reality, right? And some of the tools that we've been using for our mental fitness or our traditional meditation, might not be adequate in the stress Olympics that we're facing right now. My background is as a television reporter. I covered news, all of that negativity of news for more than 20 years. And ultimately that media diet, as you heard, that I chose to consume, made me sick. We covered a lot of awful things, car wrecks, watching people's bodies being dragged out of wreckage. We went in with the trauma teams in Sri Lanka and Indonesia, having to interview families that have lost children, and essentially day after day covering the worst day of everyone's lives. And ultimately that made me sick. Developed an inability to sleep, which if you're not sleeping well, it can lead to panic attacks and all kinds of really awful things. So, got out of television, ultimately worked for a great company called Veterans United, where we were developing virtual tours for a group of terminally ill and aging World War II veterans who weren't able to physically travel to see their memorials. And through that process, we saw that virtual reality and augmented reality, we were using augmented reality at the time, Google Glass as well. People weren't just watching these stories, they were feeling them, and that this kind of media was having a direct impact on their physiology. And so we decided to study to see what is this media doing to brain patterns, and can we create these experiences in a way that would have a therapeutic impact for these individuals? And the answer to that was yes, it was having a profound impact. So this gentleman, as you can see, his caretaker told us he wasn't able to lift his arms above his head, but halfway through that experience, he had his arms above his head to try to reach out for the other people that he saw inside the screen. Again, giving him motivation, superpowers, almost in a way to do things that he wouldn't normally be able to do. And it's engaging. And this is a little bit how Healium works with our company's social purpose, which is a program called Honor Everywhere, which provides virtual tours to a group of veterans who aren't able to physically travel to see their memorials. And we'll start talking about our company's social purpose, and then we'll share a little bit more about Healium. Yeah, because we're going to get him over here so he can see. On this day, we want you to experience the moment where you melt into your mind. Even if you can't travel to see it in person, through the magic of virtual reality, we're going to take you there. Thank you for your service. Welcome to your home. How was that little vacation? So that's just an example how, again, these tours, and we're using media to allow people the ability to travel to places where they might not normally be able to go. And I want to go through the difference between virtual reality and augmented reality. So, inside the goggles, it's a completely immersive experience that shuts out completely the physical world. So, and these areas are blending, but right now inside the goggles, you can't see what's going on in your living rooms, for instance. All you see is the media that's right in front of your face. So virtual reality is a closed, completely immersive experience. Augmented reality, however, on mobile devices, for instance, those assets are as if they're coming out of your phone in a way, and they are being superimposed over your real world. So you might see the furniture in your living room, but you're also seeing assets like a planet or butterflies or flowers or fireflies that are augmenting the experience. They're adding to that experience. And so Healium uses both of those kinds of technology. And we work with digital drugs. So these are digital drugs for stress relief, for human performance, to improve your calm and focus, and also quickly reduce your anxiety. And this is Crystal. She's a Healium customer. She wanted something to help her escape her job stress, as this is the Stress Olympics right now, and not everyone has trained for it. So she can completely escape and get some virtual peace. And then she can also see her own biometric data that's being live streamed inside the screen. And that's an issue right now in the Stress Olympics that we're in. Chronic stress is responsible for 6 of the leading causes of death, 60% of all illness and disease. But how are you supposed to learn to control your stress if you can't see it or you can't interact with it? Some people have an established mind-body connection. Not everyone does. And so Healium is using devices that you might already have in your home, like a smartwatch, or that you can purchase like an EEG meditation headband that's actually training your brain patterns and allowing you to see what they're doing. So for instance, either with an Apple Watch for heart rate or an EEG meditation headband, a forehead strap, essentially, that's just on the front of your forehead, if you quiet your mind, then butterflies will hatch out of that chrysalis in augmented reality and fly around the room. Or in virtual reality, that glowing light that you see in the center of your screen, that's the fast activity in your brain. So if you quiet your mind, then those assets will change. The environment change. If you're not meeting the mark, it will turn red. And it's teaching the user to self-regulate their brain patterns and also create a stored memory of moving out of the darkness and into the light, beautiful nature-based experiences that they can then go back to in a stressful situation. So there's two components. Not only can you escape and passively just go to some place beautiful anytime you want, but then you can also lean forward and train, where you're actually seeing your own focused calm, your feelings of flow, for instance, displayed inside the screen, and you're learning how to self-regulate those brain patterns. So in augmented reality, this is a stress animal that will release very soon out into the wild, into your own living rooms. It's a jaguar, and you can change the colors of this jaguar's coat with your heart rate or by, your focus calm. As you change, it changes the colors on its fur. That jaguar starts off in a pounce position, and then it has the ability to quickly change and soften and sit right down next to you and start to lick its paw. Again, giving the user a visual of what their stress looks like, and they can see it so they can learn to control it. You can also do augmented reality portals. So you can open up a magic portal in your own living room. You can walk through it or teleport through it and click on one of those different buttons, and you're in another beautiful, magical kingdom. A beach. You can float through a brain and learn about all the different synapses and how they fire with what you think about. And that ultimately is what you're fueling Healium with, not necessarily the wearable that's controlling it. It's you who are controlling it by your own memories and what you recall in your mind to make those different fireflies go up. And you can see as you move your phone or your iPad right or left around the room, you're in another space. And then you're back in your living room, and there's that portal that you have the ability to walk back through. So we serve areas of acute situational or confined stress, in addition to regular consumers. So the U.S. Air Force is one of our customers. Healium is used on the front lines for nurses for compassion fatigue. Any job, high stress occupations, or anything that sucks, like a blood draw that you have to go through. People use Healium in a variety of different ways, and as well for the regular consumer for their own mental health hygiene, their family's own mental health hygiene. And these are some of the different groups that we work with, from a large pharmaceutical company to the military to the VA. This study will be published soon about nurses on the front line using Healium for COVID, athletes for focus and recovery, and then also we're beginning some esports pilots where individuals, esports athletes, have the ability to use Healium in order to improve their focus and reduce their mental stress in order to get in the zone. Beyond anxiety alone, we are involved in a dozen other different trials around the world, using Healium in all of these use cases with Mayo Clinic, GSK Pharmaceuticals, Procter & Gamble, as well as at the NIH, for everything from labor pain to post-traumatic stress, perioperative anxiety. And this is how Healium works.
So let me ask you a question, right? How can you train your focus if you can't see? Healium harnesses the power of your body's electricity from a brain-sensing headband, fitness tracker, or smartwatch, and it brings it to life in virtual or augmented reality. Steady your mind, train your focus, reinvent your recovery. It's mental fitness. Healium is a portable human performance kit that works with or without virtual reality goggles. Take a mindful rest in the park. Visit the mountains. See your neurological reflection for the very first time. Don't just track the data from your wearables, interact with it. See your stress fly away with a kaleidoscope of peaceful butterflies. Become more self-aware of what your emotions look like and the impact your own thoughts have in creating your reality.
Oh my goodness, you guys have got to experience this. This is so fabulous.
Download a trial of Healium at tryhealium.com. Train the healing powers inside yourself. Healium, mental fitness for a new reality.
So that's a little bit how it works. You get new content every 60 days. There are a base of 30 experiences on the platform. You get access to a video curriculum that teaches you about what your different brain patterns are and how you have the ability to control them. And you also get a score, a Healium score, a focused calm score that you can then track over time to see how you're doing. And you can track your own individual brainwaves, your alpha, beta, theta, gamma, and seeing how they actually change. So all of these experiences are meant to be beautiful escapes. Here's an example of one that was built in a game engine where you're floating through this crystal forest. It's a beautiful crystal forest. And when you get to the end of it, you're presented with a triple double rainbow. And who right now doesn't need a triple double rainbow sometimes? And you can choose to either power it with a brain pattern, with an EEG headband, or not, and just passively glide through this experience. And this particular one is about 7 minutes. And each time I notice something different, because on either side, as you look right and left, there might be a deer that's walking through the meadow. There might be a particular firefly that's glowing. But ultimately, all of these orbs of light that are coming up, in tandem with whether or not you're meeting the mark, they come up and then they eventually show a triple double rainbow as important reminders that what we think about absolutely does influence our reality. And so just to wrap here before I ask the audience here if they have any questions or talk further, Healium ultimately, for Crystal, it is the Stress Olympics, but she knows that she has mental fitness and she's trained for it. And she knows that her thoughts do have power to control things, not only in the virtual world, but in the real world as well. And so that's a little bit about mental fitness for a new reality, and happy to answer any questions that you have.